Hello, hello. Today I wanted to discuss a topic that doesn't really come up often, but a lot of top players, I'm sure, will agree with me, which is how often should you use high risk, high reward moves? With those, I mean moves that have very powerful effects or that do a lot of damage, but are unreliable and will miss her somewhat often. And oh man, that's a shooting name. Okay, anyway, this is an example, right? Will-O-Wisp on Heatran, right? So you're like, okay, if I hit, it's fantastic because burn is a very strong status. And on the other hand, if you miss, and then Magma Storm misses too, but if you miss, you lose a turn, right? And while Heatran can sort of afford it, because it forces a lot of switches, so it can create free turns, you'd still rather be clicking moves that have a higher chance of hitting, and Dracometeor misses. Isn't this game lovely? So I'm talking mostly about moves like Hydro Pump, Will-O-Wisp, Magma Storm, sure. There are some exceptions. Some moves are not easy to replace. For example, Dracometeor, right? Because yes, Dracometeor does not have perfect accuracy, but you don't really have a better option. Like Dragon Pulse exists, yes, but is this really what you like? It's so much less powerful that it's worth the trade-off. Can we say the same about other moves like Magma Storm and Will-O-Wisp? Probably not, right? Uh, there are exceptions there too, because this game is very complicated to a point, at least, right? Which is okay. Let's say I'm Rotom Wash. I'm only strong because I have this extra combination of moves, even though even though two of these moves rather are pretty like do not pass the test, right? And yet Rotom doesn't learn anything else, and also it's as strong as it is because of these moves. So that's the that's the problem. There are even more caveats though, right? For example, Hydro Pump. Okay, yeah, sure. You should not rely on Hydro Pump as your main attacking move. If you're say Starmie, but if you're playing a rain team, then the power suddenly jumps so high that it might just be worth it. And look, Etran just missed another wisp on this Titar, and what happened? That this Etran attacked 5 times. I'm not sure if it hit one Magma on Latios, and that's it. And so that's your entire Etran that lost for turns without doing anything, which is obviously not what you want to happen. And then we also have Focus Blast. Focus Blast is another move that ideally you should drop, or at least not use it as often as it's seen. Most people don't seem to be bothered by the fact that they go click inaccurate moves for half of the game. And I mean, it's it's their gameplay, right? So whatever. But if you want to really, let's say, improve out the game, you should minimize randomness or the chance of being struck by a RNG. And to do so, you should probably drop most of the moves that have low accuracy. There's good replacements from most of them, and you can also argue that up to 90 accuracy, that's fine, but below that, it starts to get a little bit iffy. Fire Blast, I don't super hate, but also Fire Blast is realistically used by like 3 months at most, so it's not as prevalent as, say, people running idle pump over surf. And so, for example, there's the whole point that made us switch from the usual Sash Focus Blast Zam was that, well, yes, one, we discovered Life Orb, but two, we're like, okay, most Tyranitrals are running Choppleberry. And so Focus Blast is whatever, right? And beyond the Tyranitar and the Heatran, I guess, the other mons can just hit just as hard with Eden Power Fire, if not harder. And so if we run Grass Knot plus Eden Power Fire, suddenly we don't have to click Focus Blast anymore, ever again, and just strike things hard with full accuracy. And so that's exactly what we're seeing. For example, in this game, watch Alakazam, the Cat Driver. Okay, sure. So like we're starting to see more and more people drop the inaccurate moves, and I think that's a good trend overall. You lose in power, of course, but it's fine. You can afford it usually, and it's better to do a little bit less damage, but reliably, especially on certain, like, these are mostly stuff you see on offensive threats, right? So they will die in one hit in most cases, or at least would rather stick around for a little longer, and so missing will be catastrophic. And that's also why it's okay to run slightly less accurate moves on something like Ferrothor, for example, who runs Power Whip all the time. Why not Seed Bomb? Well, missing a Power Whip is not the end of the world in most cases for Ferro, and it's Seed Bomb is a bit too weak because of course Ferro doesn't run attack EVs very often, and even when it does, you still need Power Whip's power to actually make full use of this, right? And so yeah, this is why I started with this game in the background. This game is like it's a massive warning, right? And watch, Fox Blast misses, and now it's over for Rayon. Yeah, that's something that most people should at least consider when building. There are exceptions, obviously, as I mentioned, and there are also cases where you cannot really replace it, right? And so you have to just thug it out. This is another game where this happens. Like there's, but this one is a bit less. I don't know. I cannot really blame the player because it's Latios missing Draco Meteor, so it's like, yeah, but are we really clicking Dragon Pulse? Yes, you could do that technically, but Draco Meteor is so far above in power the other moves that it's okay to risk it. And also, because it's 90 accuracy, you can click it twice or thrice in a row even, and it's even not terrible to do so. For example, so hitting two Dracos is what, 81% chance? So that's okay, 3 is 72%. So it's fine. But if you drop the accuracy even just by 5, like hitting two Fireless in a row is like it doesn't get it starts dropping real fast. I don't remember the exact calculations, but or for example Focus Blast, right? So you have 70% chance to hit one, and then the second one will have a 51%, like you have a 51% chance, I believe, to hit two in a row. And so it's like if you need to hit two, which is quite likely, I will say, because there's Choppleberry, Tyranitar, or well, maybe you also need to hit the enemy Steel type, right? And do you really want to bank on a 50-50? It's 51%, 49%, right? But it's a bit suspicious, right? Or maybe not suspicious, but it's a bit extreme. Like, it's hard to make a case for it if you want to win consistently. That is, if you only have to win one game in your life, and maybe you're against someone better than you, yeah, sure. Just click moves, and eventually you will do fine. Like if you hit them, great. If you miss, whatever. Blame your loss on the misses. Who cares, right? And yeah, that's a way to look at the game in general. But if you really want to get very good and you want to execute a solid game plan, like have a strong game plan and follow through it. And it's hard when it's a game like Pokemon where there's a lot of RNG, and like your opponent also has um, lots of ways to stop your plan, and especially RNG has always RNG always has the last say in a lot of cases. But if you add your own inaccurate moves as an extra layer on top of all that, then it becomes really hard to both formulate a game plan and follow through it, because you're you're playing with destiny. You don't having to hit one will o wisp. You can argue that it's a 75%. It's okay chance, but again, if you have to click it twice, it starts getting a bit iffy. If you have to, for example, uh, hit two even either pumps, then it's what 64% chance, and it just it's just such a not worth trade-off, because you have to assume that you will hit, but also you're kind of not always hitting, and there it is, miss number one, and miss number two. Yeah, so like the power is alluring, don't get me wrong. I spam fire blast and hydro pump on everything, or even thunder outside of rain, and it's like, yeah, but do you really want to risk it all on a couple of moves going to the left? Most people will say no, and unsurprisingly so. Yet a lot many more are like, YOLO, I don't care. I will just click the non-accurate move. If I hit, great. If I miss, I will blame it on Axe, because Zarel hates me and wants me to lose. And I'm sorry, but that's not how it works, right? And so, yeah, that's that's my suggestion, to strongly reconsider when you are building a team, or even taking one from the samples. Realistically, um, think hard and long about how much uncertainty are you willing to run with. And look, this is another unfortunate um, thing, right? So Iron Head on Zam, because it's Scarf Exca, right? 30% free chance, and Zam still gets the Focus Blast through. And so, yeah. That's a 51% chance, because it's 30% miss plus 30% to flinch. But yeah. And there are, again, there are often you cannot really do anything about it. This game, for example, where there's a paralyzed Rotom Wash that hits a lot of moves. And if you look at it, it will be like, yeah, this Rotom got kind of lucky that you're running Rotom Wash, right? So you're paying the price of running Rotom by having to run at least one of Hydro Pump and Will O Wisp. Hopefully, Hydro Pump is the one you always run, but even Wisp is just very good, right? And but the the price to pay is that you're running two moves that are low accuracy, and you often have to hit to click both at least 3 or 4 times throughout the game, and that means you're kind of hoping to not get unlucky, or you or even worse, you're kind of hoping to get lucky because you want to hit these moves. And for example, this wisp hits, and cool. Let me go on a bit faster because my sponge freeze, paper, okay. Leftovers, nice. Nice sponge fire to top, very nice. This this turn, this game is just everything I've been ranting against. I understand it's necessary, but Thunder on a weatherless team, you hit Para. I mean, Para is 60% chance once you hit, so it's like okay chance. It's like 40% something. But and then look, the Rotom is paralyzed and Iron Head, but he doesn't care. And that's I know it's the game. Of course I know it's the game. It's also in my screen name, right? Lack of skill. Yeah. And this game has already so much RNG baked into it. Every turn is like damage rolls, crit chance, secondary effects. If you stack your own inaccurate moves on top of all of this, it becomes very hard to take control over the game. Not in a winning sense. You can win a lot even by spamming inaccurate moves, but it takes hard to take ownership of what happens in the game. And if that happens, you are not really strategizing in your game. You're just clicking buttons and hoping the inputs go through. And yeah, that's just unfortunate because it just makes for a worse experience, right? Because you're not in control anymore. You are at the mercy of RNG, which you already are to a serious extent in this game, obviously. And you cannot always have things go your way. This Rotom Wash has been paralyzed, and yet has hit both Hydro Pump and Wisp more than once. And even under Iron Head, it still got Pain Split off. So this is when everything goes well. Right? But you cannot rely on this at all, or for things to go this way all the time. And so why risk it all like that? I mean, this game is pretty much over, so I'm just going to skip through. I just had it for the Rotom interactions, but I think the Rotom is done. So yeah, can move on to the next one. And oh look, there's Probopass. Cool little guy. Right. Oh, goodbye, Ferro. Shock. Kill you. Thunder Wave. And there's also other things, like if you use Thunder, for example, on Starmie in Weatherless, which does happen sometimes, and you face a Jellicent, you have to, not only have to get it right when it comes in, but you also have to hit Thunder. So your game plan becomes, oh, I must hit Thunder Wave and Thunder, sorry. And not only have to click the right move at the right time, but you also have to hit it, right? And since Starmie is so frail, you cannot afford to just miss. In this game, I believe this exact thing happens. It didn't super matter, but I just have it as a like a warning, let's say. I believe this game was unwinnable for Mr. Peng after turn one, but even if he gets turn one right, it's kind of hard. Yeah, and this is another reason I don't super like Thunderous Therian, right? You have two moves that are very prone to missing, and it's like I have to hit Focus Blast, and if my opponent has a way to clear my weather, I also have to hit Thunder sometimes, and it's very unfortunate. So it's, I don't know. Okay, I believe here. I believe this is the turn. And again, the game was pretty much done from here, but like before here even. But you can see how this could happen in a situation where it's still winnable, and then suddenly it's not winnable anymore. And then there's the last one, the last situationship, let's say, which is sometimes you dodge or you miss a move and it ends up helping the person who missed, which I believe is what happens in this game. If I remember correctly, Gary misses Draco Meteor once or twice, and that ends up helping him, which is pretty funny, but it happens quite a lot. I may be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens here. Although, again, Draco Meteor on Latios is non-negotiable, right? So it's like, yeah, that happens. That just happens. But a lot of other moves are negotiable, and you should probably reconsider your move usages. But if you watch top players play, even in other generations, you will see that they do tend to stay away from these moves. For all the reasons I've been talking about for the past 20 minutes, right? So you want a game plan you can actually execute without it going astray. I mean, it will probably go astray because one, your opponent is not like they're just there doing nothing. They also are trying to advance their own game plan. But there's still a lot of interactions in this game that you cannot super prepare for. Damage rolls. Look, this turn. This turn is a perfect example. Zan Rotom survives on 1 health. Now, I don't know if this is a roll or what, but it probably is, right? And so a turn like that one, you cannot really plan for it, but at least you are minimizing the stuff outside your control. Running inaccurate moves just adds uncertainty on the already uncertain game plan, or rather the likelihood that your plan will actually work out, right? And then, like, it turns the game from a test of skills, as arguable as some people will find it, to a test of, okay, how much stuff I can get away with. We could just summarize everything with one word: greed, right? Because it is quite greedy to play like that. Because you are sacrificing reliability for damage, and sometimes it's necessary, but most of the times it's not, and you should probably focus on playing better. That's it. Me personally, I've been so scarred by missing Hydro Pumps. I don't want to see that move ever again. Do I click it sometimes? I mean, if I'm playing Keldurain, I guess sometimes I will click Hydro Pump, but I will be very jaded while doing so. Just imagine me with a sad look on my face, just clicking it and seeing it go to the left, and I'm like, okay, once again, we missed. So yeah. I believe this is the miss, right? This looks like totally if you miss you. Oh, no, never mind. Oh, Focus Blast. Oof, that's a courageous move. What's the play here? You focus blast, right, with Zam. And boom, that did 47. But survives, signal beam. Oh, miss. Okay, no, I completely misremembered. Never mind. Unless it was the one before, but no. Okay, never mind. I guess Misem is just a lucky guy. But yeah, so the TLDW, too long didn't watch is don't stop using Hydropump kids. And Wisp 2 probably. And Thunder and Focus Blast, or at least minimize their usage, because else you're sitting control of the game to to miss Fortuna. But yeah, see ya.